Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we'll be going through some new spoilers, and as you can see, we have a new keyword, which is Nightfall. Bonus, if this is not the first card you play in a round. So I kind of like these keywords. We saw it with, God, I've already forgotten the name of it. The one with the trolls, you know, these keywords that are somewhat flexible, where it's like, you know, they can bonus if this is not the first card you play in a round, but that bonus could be a bunch of different things. What was that? I've already forgotten what the keyword name was, but the troll one, you know, they could make that a whole bunch of things. It doesn't have to be an 8+ card, 8+ mana card as well. So, you know, the things that allow them to do a lot of different stuff later on with it, I kind of like. So Nightfall, obviously we'll see what has it. This looks, by the way, like Nocturne potentially is a champion tomorrow. They're kind of going a bit out of order from what we thought. But here is the first card. Steigen Onlooker is what I'm going to go for. Don't know if that's correct. And that is a 1 mana 2/1, so a standard stat line. Nightfall, give me 2/0 and fearsome this round. Okay, this round. So kind of an aggressive Shadow Isles deck this could be played in. I mean, I could see this card seeing some play. In an aggressive Shadow Isles deck, it'd be interesting to see. Well, some other cards as we're about to, but give me 2+0 and fearsome this round. I mean, a 4/1 fearsome coming down on like something like, you know, turn 2 or 3. Obviously on turn 1 it's not great, it's just a 2/1 unless you can go like, I don't know, 0 cost like Caustic Cask. I don't think you're really going to get this out on turn 1 necessarily, unless there's another card that comes out that allows you to do that. It's possible, but I think that would be somewhat rare. So you're going to want to be playing this a bit later. I mean, a full-on like just aggro deck, it's very possible that could be the case. And I think that this is a card that you might consider playing in that deck, because obviously 4 damage in an aggro deck is pretty good. So next card, let's take a look. I like the art of these so far. This one I really like. This Doom Beast, which is a 3 mana 3/2. Nightfall. Was that the keyword? Oh, it was. Why is this one normal and this one is a skill? Nightfall. Oh, Nightfall. Drain 2 from the enemy nexus. Why is this not a skill? But this one is. So this one comes down. I'm pretty sure this means it's a skill, right? So you don't play this and then it actually just goes on the stack. I suppose unlike the other one, which just does it automatically, this goes on the stack. Drain 2 from the enemy nexus. Nightfall. Is this just a worse Dead Bloom Wanderer? It does 2 damage for you automatically, I guess, but the fact that you have to play it as the second card, I am reading this right. I don't want to. Yeah, so you have to play another card first. So drain 2 from the enemy. Is that strong enough of an ability to where you're gonna want to play this card? I don't think so. I think this one is a bit worse than the first card, Doom Beast. It is drain 2 from the enemy nexus, but if you compare it to Dead Bloom Wanderer, which is obviously just straight up the 3 health, and it tosses the cards, which, you know, is good in that certain deck. I'm just not sure what deck this would fit into necessarily. It's not terrible, but the fact is, how you're not playing this on turn 3, and so if you're playing this after turn 3, like, is it really that good? I'm just not sure. It depends what you combine this with, I guess. Duskrider, 5 mana 2/5. Fearsome. Nightfall, grant me 1+0 for each time we've activated Nightfall this game. Interesting. Well, this obviously is a very difficult card to evaluate right now, because we're going to have to see how good the other Nightfall cards are. I'm going to guess we're going to get some tomorrow. And, you know, there could be a whole bunch of things that make this good or not very good. It's very much, you know, this card is very dependent on whether Nightfall will be good enough. I'm just trying to think what you would pair Nightfall with. Obviously, you're going to want like cheap spells, probably cheap burst spells. It's kind of my thought that, you know, you'd play, I don't know, a gem or something. Like that's the one coming up to the top of my head. Like if you played a gem at first, then obviously you can activate all this Nightfall, and that's pretty easy because that's just a 1 mana spell. And I guess that's kind of where you would most want to do this rather than with creatures. You know, you want to be using your spell mana to activate the Nightfall. So Duskrider obviously is going to depend on how good the other Nightfall cards are. Seeing the first two, they're, you know, okay, not great. So we'll see. 5 mana 2/5. So let's say you've done it twice. You've got a 5 mana 4/5 fearsome. That's probably not worth it. If you've done it 3 times and it's a 5 mana 5/5 fearsome coming out, I think you're gonna be hitting this for. I mean, 5 is okay, but then it doesn't keep activating, does it? I don't think so. So the problem with these Nightfall cards that I'm seeing is obviously you're playing something that has the stats of whatever mana it is, but you're probably going to have to play it later on than the mana that it is, which always seems a bit bad, like kind of just inherently in its design, but we shall see. So Passage Unearned, 3 mana card. Obliterate all units that were summoned but not played this round. Whoa. 3 mana. Obliterate all units that were summoned but not played this round. This seems very, like, niche. Like, it's something that's either gonna, like, definitely hit. Like, if a deck that summons a lot of units is out there. But if not, not so much. I know in Bilgewater we've obviously got, like, Petty Officer and Island Navigator that summon things. There's, like, House Spider. There's obviously stuff like Warm Mother's Call. What else summons things? You know, I don't know. I mean, this feels like a card that could have potential, but isn't, from what I can think off the top of my head, you know, a normal thing. It's not that great. It's going to depend very much in case we see some, like, summon synergies, but off the top of my head, I can't think of that many where, you know, this is, like, great value for you. You know, the best case scenario, I guess, would be against an Elnuk deck. If they played Troop of Elnuks and got a bunch of Elnuks, this would be a great counter for that, of course. Back when Elnuks were insane, and, you know, were played in that Ezreal deck, this would have been a card that I would have thought would have got, you know, maybe it was a one-off, just against that deck. But otherwise, I don't think this is gonna be played, but it has some potential. Encroaching Shadows, 4 mana burst speed spell, grant all allies in deck and hand +2/2 and ephemeral. Whoa, this is a cool card. Whoa. This is such a cool card. Oh my god, I love this card. The design, I'm not sure how great it is, but I just love it as a whole idea. Grant all allies in deck and hand +2/2 and ephemeral. Obviously, I love cards like this. This is obviously such a big build around card. You're going to have to think about what cards am I playing defensively, what cards am I playing offensively. Yeah, obviously you're thinking Deathmark, you know, becomes a 3 mana. Yeah, everything's got ephemeral in your deck, so, you know, Deathmark hits every card, which is pretty good. You get the 2/2, so stuff like Scourge becomes a 7/7 lifesteal. I mean, if you can find Overwhelm, could you find a Harrowing deck? Harrowing Ionia? Would you play it with Noxus instead? Oh man, this is going to be so interesting. Oh, you could, yeah, just a pure Overwhelm deck with this and Harrowing in it. I could see that. I could 100% see that. And you kind of just don't care about defense, or, you know, on your defensive turns, you play stuff like the 2 mana spell that gives you the 3/1/1s or something. You know, you just play somewhat defensively, or you use Deathmark. Then, you know, you play a cheap unit with Deathmark. Wow. This is really interesting. You're obviously gonna have to play this with, I would think, Overwhelm. Elusives seem too small, and you kind of want to continuously attack with them. Overwhelm, you know, obviously if you can buff up Overwhelm units 2/2 each time, you know, you got Iron Ballista, which becomes a 6/5, it hits them. And it's somewhat incentivizing your opponent not to block, but they're going to die pretty quick. The only thing is we have seen quite a lot of like life gain, or just some slower elements as a whole in the cards we've seen previewed so far. So I'm not sure exactly about this card. It's going to be an interesting card to play, and obviously kind of like Harrowing is now as well, require like a specific deck to be built around it. But this into Harrowing could definitely win you games. Wow. I mean, just wow. Like, yeah, with Darius, could this bring back that deck, the Darrowing deck? I think it could. I do think it could. It would be, could you fit in the Noxus Allegiance would be a question that I have for that deck. If you're playing this and Harrowing both 3 elves, could you play this in an ephemeral deck? Would you want to play this in a straight up ephemeral deck? I'm kind of... would you? Grant all allies in deck and hand, so it doesn't count for the spells that summon your ephemerals. I don't think. Because otherwise it would say grant all allies everywhere. +2 and a 2 and ephemeral. I think if it would include your spells, and so I don't think it's doing that, and so I think it's only including the actual creature cards in your deck, and the spells that create creatures aren't affected. 4 mana though, so you play this on what? You can play it on turn 3. It's a pretty big tempo loss. It's gonna be interesting, I think. You can use it as a combat trick though. That's true as well. You can use this as a combat trick, potentially on something like turn 4, which could be pretty nice actually. That could give you 3 very good trades. So this card has potential. It's gonna obviously only fit in very specific decks. As I say, I don't think you actually want this in ephemeral decks, because if you're playing Hecarim, don't you kind of want Hecarim to live? It is hand and deck, so maybe you could drop Hecarim and then give it to him. But again, that feels a little meh. That feels a little meh. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see if a Deathmark control deck could work with this. I kind of doubt it. I don't think you'd want to play control with it, but I do think there might be an Ionia Deathmark type thing with it in there. You might be able to put Zed in that deck and push some big damage with Zed. And then Deathmark. It's an interesting card. It's a very interesting... You'll want to play like Darkwater Scourge, I would have thought as well, for the 7/7 lifesteal, because of course ephemerals have the problem of, they don't have much defense. But this is just a really interesting card. This card goes pretty well, as well with the... Oh no, does it? No, I don't think it does. I was going to say the 2 mana 3/1 with the elusive and ephemeral. In Ionia, I can't remember what that card's called. I was thinking it went well with that because it would make a... Is it an exact copy, that card? Is that what that card says? Because if it says exact copy, then this could go pretty well with that card. Because if you've got a 5/3 elusive for 2 mana, that you can just attack with consistently, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then, if you were running Deathmark in that deck as well, I could definitely see that. If it does say exact copy, I'm not sure if it does. I'm not sure if it says copy or exact copy. If it's just copy, then you probably wouldn't play that. If it says exact copy, and I don't know the wording, and I'm not going to waste my time doing that either. You guys will know or not. But yeah, this card got me pumped, got me interested. So I'm just going to quickly go through each of them. So Nightfall, I think is interesting. Will require a specific deck to be built around that sort of keyword, as I say, with most likely like quick burst spells like mushrooms or like gems, something just burst speed, very quick, don't pass priority back, that kind of thing. But we shall see. This first card, the Onlooker, however you pronounce this word, I could see getting some play in an aggressive Shadow Isles deck. A quick tempo Shadow Isles deck could be pretty good with stuff like Callista as well. I could definitely see this card getting some play there. Excuse me. Doom Beast I think is a little worse. Maybe not terrible, but Not great. If this was a 3/3, I'd say yeah, you'd play this card. Being a 3/2, it just dies to a lot. Like there's gonna be a lot of times where your opponent has a 1-mana 2/1 on board, and you are gonna feel pretty bad. You could play this in like. The thing is, if you're playing control, you don't really want something where you have to commit to playing something else first. That's kind of the problem. And this obviously would go in more control-oriented type decks. But I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about it, to be honest. Duskrider as well, we're going to probably have to see other cards. If you can get this up to 6, which obviously would require you, therefore, having Nightfall on each turn. If you can reliably get Nightfall on each turn, and I'm not sure how you would do that, then this is a card worth playing. If not, then I would probably think this isn't worth playing. I don't think Fearsome is quite good enough to warrant that, because obviously on turn 5 your opponent is most likely going to have something with 5 attack themselves, and I consider like Avros and Hearthguard like a quintessential like decent 5-drop, like not amazing but just decent. And you compare this to Hearthguard, and if you played this and they play Hearthguard, kind of always losing. They've got 1/1 for everything in your deck, and you've got nothing. So it's like, would you really play this? You compare it to like Swiftwing Lancer. So at least stuff like other 5-drops. The Caretaker, is it the Caretaker? No, not the Caretaker. The other one, Neverglade Collector. Neverglade Collector is competing for the 5-drop slot, and that's obviously much more of an engine. That I think is more useful to Shadow Wars decks than something like Duskrider. So I'm less convinced about that one. Passage Unearned is going to be very specific. Like it could have some real potential, but only in very specific metas and circumstances. So it's not like a great card overall, but it's not an unplayable card if the right other cards are printed with it. Like it could definitely see play if there is a lot of summoning of units. So we'll see about that. And Encroaching Shadows is a card that I think does have some potential. It's going to require a very specific deck, but that is a deck that I'm definitely going to try and build because I love the design of this card. I think it's really, really cool. And there probably is synergies that I haven't really thought about that exist. I'm sure other people or people watching this are going to be like screaming them at me. And this probably will have some really good synergies. As I say, Deathmark is a pretty good one. Straight away, that's like an obvious one, and there probably is a few more. If that 2-mana 3/1 does say exact copy, then that's a really good synergy, because like you don't mind playing 2-mana 5/3 elusive if it dies and then you have to play it again. That's completely fine, and that obviously synergizes with Deathmark pretty well as well. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one. I'm interested in Encroaching Shadows. I'm interested to see what we get tomorrow, and if Nightfall can become very viable. The cards overall, I would say again, we've seen a lot of like what I would call okay cards. Like a lot of these cards haven't like hit me in the face and been like, whoa, this is really good. A lot of them have just been like, oh, this is pretty decent. But maybe tomorrow will be different. So with that said, I think that's gonna end it for this one. Thank you for watching. I have been Chris. Leave a comment about what you think about these cards. I'm particularly interested in ways you can think of potentially breaking Encroaching Shadows, and I think that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a really nice day.